Noninkables. Hello and welcome to Noninkables. This is episode number 5 of season 2, and yes, I'm wearing a tiara because why not? Anyways, so not a ton of Lorcana happening this week for us. So I figured this would be a good episode to kind of do a review of the past year because it's been almost a year since I played in my first set champs and won, which led to my a little bit virally video, which I will link, and is my most viewed video to date. And I think partly because of the title, which Brian came up with, which was Noob Wins Championships, which I still think was a large part due to luck. But we'll talk about it. And we'll go over like how my Lorcana journey has been thus far. I feel like I've come very far from being a beginner, never had played a TCG ever, to like actually doing pretty well and placing in top 8s in local tournaments that are a little bit bigger. So pretty exciting. In terms of actual Lorcana played this week, I played in the last round of Swiss in the MGL tournament, hybrid tournament, and I played against Ben. And it was like it happened right after the Hiram Fortisphere ban. So I feel like I was literally in grief about the Hiram Fortisphere ban. And I was like, okay, because I had planned, so if there wasn't a ban, I had planned to play this new like Sapphire Steel with Chicha Quill, and I had tried it a couple times and it was just like very unfair, the things that I could do. I felt like I had all the ink and all the cards and I was very excited to play that. But because of the ban, I was like, oh man, I can't play it anymore. So then when I went into the game with Ben, I was like, oh, he's probably going to play green blue because that's what he's been playing. And like when we had played in Sacramento, I'd asked James, who was also playing green blue, although a different version, like what decks do you struggle against? He was like, oh, if you play like aggro. So I was like, oh, if I really want to win, I should just play aggro. But then I was also like, this is going to be like my last chance playing my Sapphire Steel deck. So I ended up playing the same Sapphire Steel deck I played last weekend, and I lost. And I have to say, I'm not very upset about it actually, because I realized in playing in this tournament that this style is not for me. So the fact that every week I had to play a round against somebody and like coordinate a time to play that round, and then like think about what they might be playing, and like thinking about if I wanted to like change decks to better suit them, which I think probably would have been better because like, for example, Edmund, who ended up being the top in our pod, he changed decks each week based on what he thought that person would be playing. And so he went undefeated. And I think had I done that, I probably would have done better. But I think for me, consistency is very difficult. And actually, this podcast is probably one of the things I've been the most consistent about in my life. I feel like usually I'm an all or nothing kind of person. If I'm interested, I hyper-focus. And if I lose interest, then I just don't do it. And then like things that I try to put in place for myself to make myself more consistent have failed out ultimately. So for example, I used to knit a lot and I hate knitting sleeves of sweaters. I'll knit the whole thing and then not the sleeves. And so I made for myself a rule that I couldn't start a new project until I finished the sleeves on my sweater. And then what happened was I did not finish the sleeves on that sweater. I didn't knit for like 10 years. And I feel like it's kind of the same in all aspects of my life. And so the fact that this was a like league basically, and like I don't play in a constructed, I play in like a league sort of every week, but it's not like cumulative, right? So every week we play, if you win stuff that day, and it doesn't matter if you hadn't been to previous weeks. Whereas I feel like if I was in an actual like real league where like every single week's attendance mattered, I would miss one week and be like, all right, it's done, over. Kind of like, I feel like that's kind of how working out is usually for me, where I will go very hardcore for maybe like 2 weeks and then I miss a workout and then it's kind of over. I have to either start a whole new thing or start from the beginning or just give up. So this league, I guess, was my first experience in Lorcana of doing something more consistently, and I don't like it. So I think in the future, probably not for me. I like playing like a weekend tournament where you play the whole day and then it's done. And right, I think that's much more my style. So getting to know myself. So that was, I think I played that on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we played in our usual constructed quote unquote league, basically just a constructed tournament that happens every Friday at DVY. And we had, I think like 14 people this time, which is very exciting because for a while, like around Christmas, I feel like in January and stuff, there was like maybe 3 or 4 people each week. And so it's exciting that it's kind of like built back up. So played in that. Gary won the whole thing. So he's currently 2 weeks undefeated from his win last week in Sacramento. And he played Jafar Wheel. So he didn't play like a meta deck. And this is after the ban. So everyone's kind of trying out new stuff. Tyler and I both tried like a red, blue items deck. And I think we both came to the conclusion that we didn't want to play that deck. I came to that conclusion after round 1 when I had a game when it was like I had to ink pass and then ink pass. One turn I couldn't even ink. I just had, I think, all big Sisus, and then I got like another dime and another Sisu, and I was like, I don't like this at all. This is horrible. And so like the first round I played against Mike, who hadn't played, I think, at all this set, and he was playing Steel Song. And after like my turns of like ink pass, I lost 0-2, and I was like, okay, can I play you with my other deck that I brought, which is green purple? And then I played him with that. I won, but that didn't count. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm not playing this stupid items deck. And because it's like locals, it's chill. I was like, is it okay if I don't play the original deck I played? And I played a different deck, and everyone was cool with that. And I think Tyler also, he ended up playing with the red-blue deck, except for, and then round 3, I think after he lost again, he was like, hey, can I try out your green-purple? And I was like, yeah, here you go. I played against, so round 1, I played against Steel Song. Round 2, I played against a Brooms deck. That was Gerald. I'm always excited when I see a Brooms deck. I don't know why. I just get excited when I see theme decks and off-meta decks. I'm just like, ooh, I don't know what you're going to do at all. So I have to like really think on my feet. I really like that. And then round 3, I played against Nick, who was playing Green Steel. And I feel like his experience on Green Steel was my experience on Green Steel. We're just like, oh man. Like, you don't get as much card draw. Like, things you set up don't work out. It was just kind of like, this deck is not strong enough. And so, yeah, that was Friday. I ended up being like 6th out of 14. And yeah, and then nothing on the channel. I feel like I've recorded some stuff and then I had just forgot about it. So it hasn't been posted, which reminds me I need to update the shorts, like the pack openings. But this past week has literally just been trying to decide on a deck. So after Gary did so well with Jafar Wheel, I did try out his Jafar Wheel and I didn't hate it. But it was a lot harder than I thought to pilot. Like, I wasn't sure how exactly to mulligan and how exactly, like, how to play things out. I don't know. It just ended up being a lot more complicated than I thought. And I was like, oh, I can't learn the ins and out of this deck in like a week. I don't have enough experience. I think I need to play a different deck. So then I was playing with green purple for a lot. And I was playing like 2 versions of green purple, one that ran Peter Pan and Iago. So Peter Pan, Shadow Finder, the one that gives all your evasives rush. So then your Iago, which is like a Vanish character, also has rush. And he's like a 4/6 on 4 ink, which is very strong. I was trying out that, and then I was also trying out just like a lower to the ground green purple. And I think I ended up liking the lower to the ground green purple a little bit better, but still like a discard build. And then today I've been trying out red purple. So kind of going back to my roots, I guess, of when I became more serious about Lorcana, like when I actually put in like a lot of time to practice and learn. And I also have been trying DKP's deck of red blue, and I don't like it. I don't like playing it. I played it for like a couple set champs at the end of set 6 and did pretty well with it, but like this set I haven't liked it very much. I feel like I don't have enough cards in my hand, and everyone seems to just be able to remove anything I play, and it doesn't feel, I don't know what the word for it is. The Chinese word is swang, which is like it feels good. I don't know how to translate that. Like when I was playing Sapphire Steel, when I got the turns where I could like, even a turn where I can like sail and then also brawl. So I can sail, double ink, and then brawl, it feels good. Or when I can play a Scrooge for free by exerting 4 items and then banishing like 2 of them to play 2 bells, that feels really good. Like just turns like that. Like when I was playing Sapphire Steel and I would be able to even just like sail, ink twice, brawl, or when I was able to exert 4 items, play a Scrooge for free, and then banish an item to play a Bell. That felt really good. Like just turns where you feel like you're being super efficient. I didn't ever feel like that with the DKB deck. I just felt like I would ink and I would play like one thing, or I would pretty much every turn, or like I would ink and I would play like 2 things, but I never felt like I was getting any kind of advantage from it. So I didn't like it. So then I've been playing red, purple, and Brian sent me a video by Spessy, which was a review of the tournament that happened in Germany. And there were 2 red purple decks that were both piloted by brothers. I think there's like a third brother who played like Amber Steel, but Amber Steel never works for me. So I was like, ooh, let me take those 2 decks and like make them into one deck and then try that out. And it's been okay so far. I also have been playing mostly best of 1 on Lorcanito because best of 3 takes forever. And I don't have the attention span for that. I feel like if it's in real life, I have the attention span. Like when we play in a tournament, I have the attention span because there's a person right there and I can play. But when it's online, I am so distracted. Half the time I am like, currently I'm just like crocheting Labubu clothes. So my sister-in-law gave me a Labubu doll, which is like this little keychain doll. They're very popular in, I don't know, I've only seen Asians with them, so I assume in Asia. And you can't, I've been making little like outfits for them, like little dresses, little hats. So I'm usually doing that while I'm playing on Lorcanito. And I was playing and Brian was like, you should really play best of 3 to like practice more. And so I played a best of 3 game and it took me 40 minutes. And I was like, this is too long. I'm so bored. And like sometimes, so the problem is sometimes I will get distracted and look at other stuff online and then I'll forget that I'm playing Lorcanito and then I'll just lose because I've been inactive for too long. So best of 1 is best for me. And when I was testing, it was so funny. So every time I would play red, blue on Lorcanito best of 1, I would match into Blurple. It happened like 5 times. And then I would like switch to green, purple, and I would match into Amber Steel every single time. And I was like, what is this? I'm not getting good testing. Since I've been playing red, purple, I've been matching into different things. And I also feel like, so best of 3 on Lorcanito, it's ranked. I feel like the ranking matters more. So you're always matched to people who are close to you in terms of MMR. So like how good you are. Whereas when I play best of 1, I often match into really good people. I mean, I also match into people who I normally wouldn't match into best of 3. I feel like both above and below. And I feel like both are important because when you match into people below, sometimes they're playing like a really weird deck. And I think that is good practice because when you go to competitions, there's always people playing weird, spicy stuff. And so it's good to practice your like on the fly thinking, like things you can't prepare for. And then I also match into people who are really good, like 1500, like to the top of the charts people. And they sometimes are playing a weird deck, but oftentimes they're just playing like another meta deck that they don't normally play. And so they're still really good at piloting it. So I feel like that is also good practice. And so right now I'm kind of leaning towards playing red, purple. I'm just trying to figure out what cards to include in my red, purple deck because there are so many options. And then this weekend on Sunday, which is Easter Sunday / 420, we are going to be playing in a tournament in Fremont called Bibbidi Bobbidi Brawl. It is hosted by 88 Card House and by Margolis Gaming Labs, MGL. So the people who are running basically it's Josie who's running the hybrid league that we're a part of. I guess technically not anymore because it didn't make it to the top 16. And the prizes are very cool. So you can win, I think first prize wins a DLC foil Cinderella. So at the DLCs, you could get points and then get either the Cinderella or the Rapunzel alternate art card. But if you placed a certain level, you could get the foil version. And so at this tournament, you could win either the foil Cinderella, I think that's first place. There's also a foil Let It Go, which I think is second place, and then the foil Rapunzel, which I think is third or fourth place. And then I think after that, it's like Enchanted Sea Suit, and then after that is probably, I think it's just packs. So I think those are very cool prizes to try to win. And since I've been doing pretty good recently, so making top 8 the last 2 big competitions we were in, I might actually have a chance, which is a weird feeling. I am surprised every time I'm in top 8. So I don't know when that surprise is going to wear off, but still surprised every time I make it to top 8. And so hopefully this time I want to win one of those foil. I don't know which one. I don't want to be like, oh, I want to win the Cinderella because that requires first place. I just want to try my best and hopefully bubble into top 8 like I always do, and then win something. So that is what's coming up. And then that's kind of all the updates I have for this week. And now I'm going to just talk about this past year of Lorcana. So if you're new to the channel, I started playing Lorcana in set 2. I think it was like right after Christmas. I think we went to Barnes & Noble's because Brian wanted to see if they had Lorcana cards. And the Barnes & Noble's we went to happened not to have Lorcana cards. And then he was like, oh, I was like, oh, what are you looking for? He's like, oh, it's this like Disney trading card game. And I was like, oh, maybe they have it on the Disney website. So then I looked on the Disney website and they had Floodborne booster boxes and starter decks. So I added the starter decks to my cart. And then I was like, should I get the booster box? I don't know. I don't know how card games work. And in the time it took me to sign into my account to check out and decide whether I wanted a booster box, which was like 2 minutes, it sold out. And I was like, oh, is this like a big deal? Is this like a new hip thing? Should we be getting these cards? And so then I was like more interested because I couldn't get it. And so then I think Brian ended up finding some starter decks at a local game store, and he bought 3 starter decks. And then we played, and then because it was like hard to get, I feel like that made me more interested. And so I started like going to Hot Topics and Box Lunch and Best Buy and Barnes & Noble and Walmart and Target trying to find these freaking cards. And then, of course, in one of the Hot Topic blister packs I opened an Enchanted Elsa, and they were like over $1,000 at the time. So then I was like, oh, I'm so lucky. My luck is so good. And then I got hooked. And then in terms of competitions, my first competition I ever went to was on March 3rd. And I played a sealed competition at Fanimage of Into the Inklands. It was only $30. So basically, I did not want to play competitively because I was like, no, I tend to get very competitive and then I'll get sad if I don't do well. I think I'm just going to get too into it. And then Brian convinced me to go to the sealed because he was like, well, you get 6 packs for $30, which covers the cost of the packs. And then you get pack per win. So if you win anything, then it's like free cards. And I'm always one to want a good deal. And so I was like, okay, I'll go. And that's when my competitive play started. So I ended up placing 8th out of 11. And I think prior to this, I had tried to make a deck at home we did end up buying a booster box. And so I think I made like a red purple deck. And I put basically every card that I liked in it. And my first deck was 90 cards and had probably like 30 uninkables. And Brian tried to tell me that this was not a good deck, and I didn't listen. I was like, but all these cards are really good. And then I played him and immediately saw the error of my ways, and I was like, okay, too many uninkables and too many cards. And so when I went to that sealed, I barely understood how sealed worked, so my deck was not good. But it was a good deal, and I had a lot of fun. And I was also very scared that people were going to be mean or like really weird, because my impression of trading card game players is probably like the general impression of people who are not in the trading card game space is like people from high school who just played Magic all the time. And I was in band, so there was always people like playing in the corner, like of the band room, and they were always like a little weird. I mean, all the band kids are weird. So they were like more of the quiet weird rather than like the loud weird band kids. And I had heard about like people being really mean in card games and also really smelly. And so I was afraid that was what like the kind of group I was going into. And then when I played in the sale, I was like, oh, everyone's so nice and kind and like really helpful, because I was like, I've never played before, and they were all super nice to me. And so then I was like, okay, maybe because it's Disney, everyone's nice. And then the second thing we played in was another sealed, like later that month at the end of March. And that was the first time we met Tyler, who's on the team, Botsu. I played against him in round 1 and lost. Brian played against him in round 3 and lost. But that's where we met Tyler. And we met him as Botsu because that was his melee name. And for a long time, like for months, didn't know what his name was, just referred to him as Botsu. And then I think eventually, like maybe a month or 2 later, I was like, hey, what's your real name? And then, so that was sealed. And then the first set champs I played in was Games of Martinez on 4/20. So literally, it'll be a year this Sunday. It was best of 3, 5 rounds, 4 Stitch. I bubbled in to top 8. So there were 5 people with my record, but I had the best tiebreakers. 5 people, including Brian, that all had the same number of points going in after round 5, going into quarterfinals. But my tiebreakers were the first seed was one of my tiebreakers, and the 7th seed was one of my tiebreakers. And I still remember when I played the person in 7th seed, I misplayed. That was like the first misplay where I recognized the misplay after I did it. And the thing was, I was playing green steel aggro from Speci. That was when I was still like a diehard Speci fan, because that was before I realized that he names every single video like best deck, this deck will break the meta, blah, blah, blah. And so every time he posts a deck, I was like, oh, this is the new best deck. But I played his green steel with Curse Merfolk, Flynn Rider, that whole thing. And there was a turn where I should have bounced his rabbit, but I didn't. So if I had bounced his rabbit, then he wouldn't have been able to quest to 20. But I didn't bounce his rabbit because I didn't want him to get that card, and it was a mistake. And like, I still remember that, but that was like the first misplay that I ever recognized, kind of like recognized. Because normally I feel like in the beginning, you misplay, you don't even know that you misplay. You're just like, oh, I don't know why I didn't win. So that person was 7th seed. And yeah, so I bubbled in. And the person who was first seed, I had played in Swiss. So I ended up playing him in quarterfinals. I played him in Swiss. He was also playing green steel. I lost 0-2 to him. We had so much time because that green steel was very fast. And I was like, hey, can we play a 3rd game during Swiss? And he was like, sure. We played a 3rd game. I lost again. And so meeting him in quarterfinals, I was panicking. I felt my heart rate was like boom, 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 boom. I was so panicking. And then when we played in quarterfinals, I ended up beating him 2-1. And I think the last game basically came down to like my top decks were better than his top decks. And so to me, lucky that I got into top 8, lucky that I won my quarterfinal match. And then my semifinals, I actually wasn't super worried about because I was playing Romeo, who plays red purple always. He's super nice. He plays very slowly because I think he thinks a lot. And he had so his quarterfinals match, he was playing red purple versus red blue deck. So both super control-y. Their matches, I think for that round, they took like 2 hours. And they were both so mentally fatigued because there were several turns where either of them could have won, but they were so tired they didn't see it. Because I think I remember the red blue player having like bell and like 2 dimes. And I was like, can't he just dime the bell? Like play the bell and play a dime and then just dime the bell and win? And like I remember we were having like little discussions in the corner being like, can he just win? Can he just win? And then like, I think on Romeo's side, I was like, wait, but he has this. Can he just do this and win? And like both of them had options to win, but they were both so tired by that point in the 3rd game that they both didn't see it. It's that mental fatigue for you. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be playing whoever wins this match. So whoever I'm playing is already very mentally tired. Ended up being Romeo, who was on red purple. So I played him. My deck was fast. He was tired. So I won. I was like, oh, easy peasy. And then for finals, I played against Kagi, who was playing like a red-green evasive deck, and ended up winning that one. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, the way I felt after winning that is how I feel anytime I make it to top 8 still. I'm just like, oh my gosh, little Q managed to win in this game, this trading card game where people have been playing trading card games since they were like children and have so much experience and play like way complicated games. And it's just little old me who's new. That's how I feel every time. Still, I feel like that. And so came home, made the video about my deck, posted it, didn't sleep. The next day we played at Fanimage, and it was like I did not know how to play Lorcana anymore. I ended up 12th out of 17th. Brian was 5th. Tyler was 1st at that one. I did play against a red steel deck during that one, and it was like, I still remember, it was like a Sheriff of Nottingham, Bayou, all about like discarding their own card and doing the damage from that. And I thought that was so cool because I hadn't really seen, that was like the first non-meta deck besides I guess the green red that I played against, but like this person like cooked it up on its own. Their melee name is Living Silver, and I still can't remember their actual real name, but every time I see them, I'm just like, oh, I'm so excited to play you because I know you're going to play something fun. And I feel like that really started my like excitement about these non-meta decks. It's a very good experience for me, even though I totally lost. And then the next weekend, I played at NorCal TCG in their set champs. I don't remember that experience at all, to be honest. I don't remember it. Apparently, I ended up 10th out of 39, which is pretty good for like my first round of set champs, but I don't remember playing that at all. And maybe I was post call, I don't know. So that was like the end of set 3. And then after that, we started actually playing in like local weekly constructed tournaments. And that's also when we brought Tyler onto our team because we were like, hey, do you want to be on our team and help us and teach me things and stuff? And then Tyler also had the same idea. He was like, oh, we should make a team. And then we were like, oh, we can provide you any cards you need. That will be our contribution, and your contribution will be to teach us. And then Tyler brought on Gary, who he had known, I guess, from, I don't know actually where he knows Gary from, but I just know that Gary played a lot of Magic. And then our little team, that's how our little team was formed. So it's me, Brian, obviously my husband has to be on the team, Tyler, and then Gary. So we were 4 people. And since then, people have wanted to join our team, but like, I guess technically I'm in charge of the team since the now LLC is under my name, but I just haven't let anyone else on the team because I feel like it's too many people to manage. And then like, I already have to, and well, okay, so like once you're on the team, like everything you say is kind of may reflect also back on the team, which I feel like is a complicated thing. And I don't want to be policing more people. And also, I don't know, I like our little team. And we have stuff. We have like team jackets, we have team water bottles, we have team mats just for our team, our 4 little people. And I don't know, I guess I'm hesitant to expand the team because I don't know. I don't know why. Because I like our little team. And like I think for our team, like we often lend cards to Tyler. We don't often lend cards to Gary because he tends to get his own cards. But if we add more people, like we're not going to have enough cards to lend out because we have 2 play sets of everything plus some shinies and enchanteds. I don't know. It's just more to manage. And so I've kept the team 4 people. And then anytime anyone joins the team, they just go ask Q, and I'm just like, no, I don't want more people. I like our little team. I mean, it makes us at a disadvantage when there's like events like Battle of the Bay had like a team competition. Our team definitely like suffered because the team that ended up winning had like 20 people. So obviously they had the most points. But I don't know. I kind of like our little team. So maybe in the future we'll expand. But right now, I haven't been convinced of the benefits, I suppose. Yeah, so that is how our little team came to be. Brian came up with the name. Well, he came up with the name Noninkables, I think a few months before. We went on like a Napa wine train thing, and the whole time we just talked about like the YouTube channel and a team name and that stuff. So we already had the Noninkables kind of existing, and so it just became our team. And I was like, our logo will be a hexagon. You can't trademark a hexagon, so we're not going to get sued. It'll be great. And then let's see. The next set was Ursula's Return. We played at a sealed at Games of Berkeley. That was like our first. So then after set 3, that's when we started expanding to more game stores. So we played a sealed at Games of Berkeley, and that was the first time I met Jesbian and Tegan and Edmund and Judy. And then we also started playing at Victory Point, which is run by Chris and Wiley. And then in June, we played at SCG Con in Las Vegas. We played in a 1K on the Friday, and I ended up being 9th out of 35. And the person who was in 8th place had the same number of points as me. I was playing red-purple at that time. And then there was a gold tournament the next day, and I ended up being like 41st out of 64th. And then the day 3, we had signed up for stuff, but we ended up not playing in it because it was very smelly. Literally, that's why. Because I think SCG is mostly a Magic convention. And it confirmed all of those like preconceptions I had about TCGs before I started playing TCGs. So the first day was already a little bit smelly in that there were some booths that smelled like wet towel because I think their like drapes they used to cover the tables were a little wet towel smelling. And then some of the people smelled not great. And then by day 3, most of the people smelled not great. And I was like, I can't breathe. We need to leave. And ironically, like next door, they had a active handball 2-court tournament going on. That room smelled fantastic. So by day 3, I was like, you know what? Let's just go eat and like do other stuff. I don't want to play anymore. And then later in June 21st was the first time we played at DVY, which is now like our local spot. And then July was Ursula's Return set champs, where I consistently was knocked out of top 8 by Tyler, or knocked out, yeah, in quarterfinals. So first one we played in VPC, I ended up being 6th. I played Tyler in the quarterfinals, and he won. And he ended up winning the whole thing. The next weekend, played at Games of Martinez, got to quarterfinals, knocked out by Tyler. So I was 8th. He ended up being 2nd. And this was the Ursula's Return one. So I didn't get any cards for being 6th and 8th. And then the day after, we played at, I think, Fanimich, and I was like, great. Hopefully, and that time was the first time I had ever been able to ID in the last round before quarterfinals. And it was like, I asked like 4 different people, which is what I still do. Whenever someone's like, do you want to ID? I'm like, okay, let me ask a bunch of people to do the math to make sure that I won't like bubble myself out if I ID. So that was very exciting. I'd never ID'd before. And that time I got knocked out of quarterfinals by Kurt. And then the finals ended up being Tyler versus Gary, and Gary won. And then after that, we played at the DLC in Fort Worth, and I ended up like 1,127th. I had 23 points. Brian ended up being a little bit higher at 1,103, and he had 24 points. He was actually, his record was 0-1-8, but he could have actually been 0-0-9. But it was like that last round where like if either person won 2-0, they would be like bumped into the next tier for like 30 points would get you so many tickets. And so they ended up playing best of 1. And then I think what I remember from Fort Worth is it was very, very cold. That was like the Bucky time. I played Red Purple, and that was when I bought Kendall's guide. So No, I'm Not's guide about Red Purple, and I printed it out. I highlighted things. I wrote notes. I really took time to practice, actually learning, going a level deeper into the game. And then for set champs, I think I played in another one. I played it in Games of Concord. I ended up being 13th. Brian ended up being 3rd. So that was our one set, Ursula's Return set champs card. And then the day after I played it, we played at King Kong. I ended up being 10th. I remember round 4, if I won, I would have been able to maybe bubble in. I played against Edmund, who was on Blue Steel. I was on Red Purple. And we were, I don't remember if we went to turn. I think we went to turns. And so there was I just remember there being a ton of people watching. It was very, very stressful. I was panicking. I was like, oh my God. And I didn't process that he had played another item the turn before, so his Tomato could quest for more. And so I didn't get rid of the Tomato. I got rid of a Hiram and something else because I thought I had another turn, but I didn't. And so I did all this stuff, and then he was like, oh, so just quest and win. And I was like, God dang it. That's my bad. And that was my first time, I feel where my game was being watched by many people, and it really stressed me out. And it's still something that I struggle with when a lot of people are watching. I tried to be more tunnel vision and not pay attention to that. But it was I feel for that match, there was at least 10 people watching. It was very stressful. So that was an experience. And then in August, we went to Gen Con and played there. That was super fun. I got COVID, as did I think almost everybody at Gen Con. Brian also got COVID. And then I discovered the game Neopets Battleground, which apparently nobody plays, but I did buy cards. So if anyone ever wants to play Neopets Battleground, I have those cards if you want to play. And then I think that was the end of set 4. Set 5, our team really did weekly team practices. We had a team deck, which was red-blue items, which I don't think anyone was playing at the time. We practiced because the learning curve on that items deck is so high. The first couple times I played, I was like, I hate this deck. And then once you figure out how to play it, it gets better. But oh man, that was really sitting down and learning how to play the deck. At Las Vegas, Tyler did the best. He ended up at 85th and had 44 points. Gary was 354. I was 606, and Brian was 1508. Brian, I think he did play the items deck for that one. I ended up playing Gary in round 7. So Las Vegas was one where I played 3 locals, one of which was Gary in round 7. And when I played Gary, it was whoever won would maybe be able to get into top 64. And I, 1, panicked, 2, miscalculated, which I feel with the items deck was very common because you have so much ink and so many items. And so I didn't win because of a misplay. But prior to that, I've been playing very well. So Gary ended up winning, and then I think he lost his next round or something, or tied or something. So that was Las Vegas. And then after that, we did Shimmering Sky Set Champs, which I feel like didn't have very... Was that Shimmering Sky Set Champs? I think Shimmering Sky Set Champs. We did VPC, where I got 13th, Brian got 11th. We did Phantom Itch, I got 12th, Brian got 15th. We did Destine. That was the first time we'd ever played at Destine. It's in Alameda. I was 11th, Brian was 13th. Although we did leave after 3 rounds because it was only 14 people. So it was only going to be 4 rounds total, and we knew that we wouldn't make it into the top 4. And I think I had work that day, so I was like, I'm leaving. And then the next day was DVY, which was also 14 people. So it was only quarterfinal, or it was only semifinals, finals. And that one I ended up winning first place. I played Gary in the semifinals and then Cameron in the finals. And that time I was playing, so prior to this, at all the other set champs where I didn't do very well, I was playing our items deck, which I think was just too slow. And then that one, I switched up. I played a purple steel mines deck. And then I think I played against Cameron, who was playing aggro. So steel was very good into that. So I ended up winning. And then after that, we went to Seattle DLC. And Tyler was supposed to come, but then his baby was born and coming home from the NICU. So then he couldn't come. Totally, like, reasonable reason. Gary ended up being 188th, which was like 40 points. And I was 490 with 33 points. And then Brian was like 1, 2, 6, 3. With 23 points. I think that one, I last minute decided I was going to play green steel aggro and like literally had not practiced the deck. And I learned that is not a great idea. However, technically I did place the highest at that one. But yeah, I feel like not a good idea. And then after that, we played Battle of the Bay, which was like a little bit of drama about whether or not set 6 cards would be legal because they were only going to be available at local game stores. There was a whole like pay to lose, pay to win argument that Gary was in on Discord. And then I feel like that really made me be like, maybe we have enough people on the team, because if there's more people, there's more potential for like drama, and I don't want to deal with drama. I played red-green actions deck with Robin Hood Sharpshooter. I called it pay to lose because I had a lot of enchanteds in my deck. I played on stream for the first time, which I realized not for me. So the panic I get when people are watching, even worse when I'm on stream. I think by turn 2, I had already misplayed. Luckily, I played John, who's super cool. We were laughing through the whole thing. We like messed up the lore counter 1 turn in. We both misplayed by like turn 2. So learned that I don't want to be on stream. So now every time they're like, do you want to be on stream? I'm like, nope, no thank you. Don't want to be on stream. Then everyone can see my misplays. Ended up 77th. Botsu ended up 6th. And that's when he started his rule breaking streak. He is the rule breaker of our team. I think in that one, he accidentally ran an extra Prince John. So he had 5. And then by taking out the Prince John, it made his deck 59 cards, which is not legal, which ended up giving him a game loss. And then he misread the card for Mr. Arrow, and so lost because of that, because he didn't attack Mr. Arrow, because he thought Mr. Arrow had ward when it didn't. And then after that, Brian and I played at Lore Keeper Showdown in Santa Clara, and Brian ended up 33rd. I ended up 36th. It was like out of 47. I ran a red-purple deck with no B preps that was like being played by somebody who was on like top of Lorcanito, and I didn't realize that like that deck's, oh my goodness, that deck specifically is good into like red blue, but not so much into other stuff. But the cool thing was, even though I was running no B preps, everyone was playing around B preps, so it was almost as if I had B preps. And then that was the end of 2024, and that was the end of 2024. And then we played January 4th at Gold Star, pretty good Lorcana tournament up in Sacramento. That one, Tyler ended up being 4th. Gary was 51st, Brian was 69, and I was 79. I think I played a red-blue that was like weird. It had like Mulan in it. And then that one is where Tyler got warnings for playing How Far I'll Go and doing it like a Grammatala. I think he did it like twice. And then there was something else. He continued his rule-breaking streak. And then on the 10th is LCQ. I played green steel. I made it to round 3, and then, oh no, I didn't play green steel. I played red blue in that one, and I made it to round 3 and ended up 7th in the pot, and I I lost in round 3 in game 3 because we ran out of time. So we started game 3 on turns. And my opponent went first and had a Tipo. And so he ended up winning. And it was such BS. I'm still like angry about that because I feel like he took up the most time. I wish we had a chess timer where we could time like each other's turns because I feel like his turns took so long because he was running like a lot of develop your brains and visions and thinking about that. And in one of the games, he had like 2 Greystone Dragons and so had like all this ink and was making many decisions. I don't know. I just feel like I could have done better. And then let's see. Then starts set 6 set champs. The first one I played in was Games of Berkeley. I played Green Steel and I ended up being second out of 39, which is very good. Got a mat. And then the next one we played in was VPC. I got 7th. The next one we played in was Games of Concord and I ended up being last. We left after round 2. I think I lost like 2 rounds in a row and I was like, you know what? Let's just go because Fanimich was happening the same day. So I was like, let's go. We went to Fanimich, ended up getting first place there. So it was a good decision by me. Brian ended up 4th there, and then Gary ended up 5th there. Ironically, Gary went to Fanimich because the rest of us were going to Games of Concord, and he wanted to avoid us, but me and Brian went to Fanimich to play him. Games of Concord ended up being won by Tyler. So both set champs that happened that day was won by Noninkables. And then after that, I played at game King Kong, still with Green Steel, got 26 out of 32. I think I drew every single game. I drew so much that I sat in the same seat every single round because I was exactly the middle. And then after that, we played at Destine, and I changed decks. So King Kong was a Saturday, Destine was a Sunday. I went from Green Steel to the DKP list and literally been published like hours before. So I played that at DKP and I was 17th. Brian ended up being 10th and like I think had the same record as 8th place, so potentially could have bubbled in, but because of tiebreakers did not. And then the next weekend, we played at 88 Card House. I played the DKP deck. I ended up being 3rd. That entire set champs, I was panicking because Ed played. So Ed, who won Fort Worth, who won North American Championships, he was there. And then Judy didn't help because Judy kept being like, oh, you have the same record as Ed. You might play Ed next round. And so the entire thing, literally we were sitting in the lobby waiting. He walks in. I start panicking. I can tell because my aura ring is like, you are panicking. Your heart rate is very high. And then the panic just continued. But I ended up being 3rd. And I think he was playing red, blue at that one. And I think he ended up being like 9th. So technically I did better than him. But like, I don't know. It's not like a huge competition. So I don't know how much effort he put into it. Then after that, we played at NorCal, TCG. And I think I don't remember if I played DKP, but maybe, but I might have also played something silly. And I ended up like, I didn't even write down where I ended up. I ended up 13th. Gary ended up winning that one, breaking Tyler's NorCal TCG set champs streak. Tyler was 2nd because Tyler had won there, I think, Inkland's, Ursula's Return, and Shimmering Skies. And then Brian ended up being last, but last place had a prize. So they actually played to see who would be last. And he won like a Stitch gift box, I think. And then I think we played in one more at Fanimich, and I played Hyper Aggro and ended up like 8th. Yeah. And then we didn't play anything until like end of March, which was the 1K at Redwood City. I played Blue Steel. I got 3rd place. I won my first cash prize, $150, cash money. And then April, we played pretty good Lorcana, where I played Blue Steel. I ended up 8th. That was when Noninkables was top 3 of the top 8 spots. Ended up being Gary won, Tyler got 5th, I got 8th. Brian was actually 18th and had the same, I think he only lost 1 game more than me. And he had picked up a new deck, green purple, like literally days before. So that's like super good. And then that is kind of like all caught up. And then the next one is this weekend, and we'll see. All 4 of us are going. I think we're probably going to end up all playing different decks. I'm probably going to play red purple, not sure. Brian's going to play green purple. I don't know what Tyler's going to play. He's been waffling. Gary, I don't know. Maybe he'll play Jafar. Who knows? Or red blue, maybe green purple. I don't know. So it'll be a mystery until it happens, but that will be on next week's podcast. So that's it. That's my review of this past year. I've been getting better, which is good. I like that. I want to get better still. Yeah. So, for all those people out there starting new or who aren't very good, you can also become good. I mean, I guess I can say this more so when there's more DLCs, and if I make it to day 2, I can say this with more confidence, but it doesn't matter if you haven't played TCGs before in your life ever. You can still be competitive. Because coming into it, I really thought that like I was at a super big disadvantage to all the people who had played TCGs before. But I think if you put in the work, you can learn the stuff. And I learned mainly from buying guides. I mean, I haven't bought a ton. I bought the No I'm Not guide. I read through the Elathrion guide for Red Purple, and that teaches a lot of basics. I think I've read through like a Green Steel guide from Dale for one of the sets. And then JDRR, shout out to him. He posts free guides on like Blurple and Purple Steel online on Metafy, which I think if you are starting out, that's a good place to start. I would also say start with the cheaper guides. I think like DKP has the most expensive guide. It's like $45 or something. And I think Moyen had a guide that was like $40. I have not bought those because I, as you know, want a good deal. And those don't seem like good deals to me. So I think for me, mostly is reading guides and then practicing with intention. Oh man, I sound like a yoga instructor. Practicing with intention. But basically, like when you play a game, you don't just go through the motions. You like think, you have to think more about like, if you lost, why you lost. If you won, why you won. And then each step you have to think about like, these are the cards I have. So this turn I'll play this, the next turn I'll play this. And then you have to also think about what your opponent might play based on the colors that you know they're playing. Like if they play purple and you're like, oh, what if they drop a library? Or if they play blue and you're like, what if they drop a McDuck banner? How would I deal with that with the cards I have? You know, stuff like that. And then also just like, I feel like I've also gotten good because we play with Tyler and he's very good. And he is very good about sharing his knowledge. And at least for Blue Steel, I was literally like, Tyler, what list should I play? And he sent me a list. And then I was like, how do I play this? And he kind of like went through the basics and then I take notes. And so like for Blue Steel, he was like, okay, you want to mulligan aggressively for 1-drop. So like Popsicle. And also for your 2-drop ramp. So if you have ramp, you keep your ramp. And then if you have an item, you keep, like if you have a 1-drop item, you keep that. And then you mulligan the rest. And then I was like, oh, do you ever keep Bell in your opening hand? He's like, only if you also have the 1-drop item and also ramp and also a song to sing with Bell. That's like when you would keep Bell. Otherwise, just mulligan her away. If you don't have ramp, definitely mulligan her away. You don't ever like keep her, especially if you don't have an item to switch, because otherwise it's just like a dead card. And so I think like thinking about those things when you're playing helps a lot. And then just running a lot of games. Like when there was Pixelborn, when there's Pixelborn, I used to play like a ton of games. Whenever there's like downtime at work, I would play. And then now with Lorcanito, I try to play at work, but I think our work internet is like so slow that it doesn't, like, it can't run Lorcanito, which is kind of unfortunate. So sometimes I can run it, but if Lorcanito is really busy, it doesn't work. But running games, and then like I'm really bad at remembering after the game has ended. So like a lot of people will remember like, oh, this is where I misplayed in this game, like right after the game ended. Memory completely gone. I don't remember what happened at all. I sometimes don't even remember what colors I played against. And so for me, I have to like think about it as it's happening almost. And then I'll try to take notes right after the game is over to write down stuff, partly so I can talk about it on the podcast, but also so that I can remember and review and think about it. And like sometimes I will write in an Excel sheet. I'll like keep track of my games and write like why did I lose this game, or like misplays or things I have to think about. Like I feel like every time I haven't played for a while, the next time I play Amber Steel, my note to myself is always like, remember that Rapunzel exists as a card and don't leave damage on the board. I feel like it's always a thing I have to remind myself. And then if I haven't played in a while, I always have to remind myself, hey, be prepared as a card. So don't go that wide. And I think when you've played a lot, like these things are more second nature. Like sometimes Tyler will play games and then he'll just talk through them. And like the way it's like interesting to watch people who are really good play, because they'll say things like, oh, well, they could play this. And so I want to make sure I have this on board, blah, blah. And you're just like, oh yeah, I should know that. Because like, if you're playing against a meta deck, you kind of know what their game plan is, or you should try to know what their game plan is. And so you want to disrupt that game plan. So like, for example, when we were playing Green Steel, like I always thought like, oh, shift Diablo, and then you just win. But like really, sometimes you see their hand, you're like, okay, they have a way to deal with my Diablo. So maybe you shift the Diablo later, like you shift it on turn 3 when you also play a 3-drop Ursula. And then they have to decide, do they want to get rid of the Diablo or get rid of the Ursula? rather than like shifting Diablo on 2 where they can get rid of the Diablo on 2 and then on 3 they can use something else to get rid of the Ursula, you know? So like they have to, you make them make hard decisions. And so yeah, I feel like those are the things I learned from watching other people play, especially when you can hear them talk through why they do certain things. And that's like what I talk to with other players about sometimes after at tournaments and stuff. But a lot of times I feel like it's hard for me because I don't remember. Like I'm in the moment, I play the plays, and then afterwards I don't remember. A lot of times I'll be like, people like our team will ask me like, oh, where do you think you misplayed? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even remember what I played. Yeah, so you know, strengths and weaknesses. The strength is that I don't perseverate over misplays because I often forget them. The weakness is I don't learn from them sometimes. So I think strengths and weaknesses on both sides. So that is it for my like 1 year review. I've had a lot of fun with Lorcana. So yeah, that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is my 1 year recap. We'll do it again next year if I'm still playing next year, which honestly I probably will be. And next podcast, we'll see how we did at Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. We'll see if Gary continues to be undefeated. We'll see if Tyler continues to just be very good / maybe knock me out of top 8. And then we'll see what everyone plays because right now, unknown, which I think makes it fun. This meta is crazy after the ban. I'm still kind of sad about the ban. After my game with Ben, which was like last time playing that deck, I did cry a little bit. I shed a couple tears. I was sad. If you know me in real life, that is not unusual for me. I cry in commercials sometimes. Maybe I'm very empathetic. Maybe I just wear my heart on my sleeve. But I was very sad about that. But I think I'm finally like kind of over it. Yeah, and then even like this week in our team Discord, I was like, I don't like this deck. It doesn't feel good. I miss Sapphire Steel. And then Gary was like, no deck is gonna feel as good as Sapphire Steel felt because that deck was unfair. That's why they banned the cards. And I was like, you're right. I need to get over it and just pick a new deck. So yeah, that's it for me. As always, keep shuffling. Hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables like me. And that's it for me. All right, bye.